Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of William Tell? Released on January 17, 2025, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. William Tell, a name that resonates with legend, history, and the enduring spirit of resistance. On January 17, 2025, this epic reimagining of one of the most iconic tales in Swiss history made its highly anticipated debut, drawing viewers into a tumultuous world of rebellion, betrayal, and unyielding courage. Directed by the visionary Hamm, this film takes us far beyond the familiar bow and arrow legend of William Tell, bringing to life the raw emotions, political intrigue, and monumental sacrifices that define the man behind the myth. From the moment William Tell begins, it is clear that this is no ordinary historical epic. The film dives straight into the heart of Switzerland's 14th century, a time when the peaceful nation found itself under the crushing rule of the Austrian Habsburgs. For centuries, Tell has been remembered as a man whose defiance against the oppressive regime led to his rise as a national hero. Yet this film does not merely recount the famous moment of him shooting an apple off his son's head. Instead, it delves deeply into the psychological and emotional journey of William Tell, the man, as he grapples with his desire for peace and the realization that he must fight for his freedom, not just for himself but for an entire people. It is a tale of resistance, unity, and self-discovery, set against a backdrop of breathtaking natural beauty and relentless political struggle. What sets William Tell apart from other historical dramas is its complexity. Unlike other adaptations of the tale, this film never falls into the trap of oversimplifying the narrative. Instead, it paints a vivid portrait of the moral dilemmas Tell faces. Portrayed by the magnetic Claes, Tell is not simply a fearless hero but a man torn between his love for his family, his duty to his people, and his moral compass. His journey from reluctant rebel to leader of an uprising is as emotional as it is thrilling, and the movie does an extraordinary job of capturing the internal conflict that defines his character. What's even more striking is how William Tell humanizes him, not as a distant, larger-than-life figure, but as a deeply relatable person caught in extraordinary circumstances. The performances across the board are nothing short of mesmerizing. Golshifteh Farahani delivers an outstanding performance as Suna, Tell's wife, bringing layers of complexity to a character who might otherwise have been sidelined in a lesser film. Farahani's portrayal of Suna is rich with emotional depth, as she must navigate the precarious balance between supporting her husband's rebellion and protecting her family. She is not merely a passive figure in Tell's life. She is a force in her own right, and her relationship with Tell is central to the emotional core of the film. Their chemistry is electric, and their scenes together have a poignancy that resonates throughout the film. Then there's Kingsley, whose portrayal of the villainous King Albert is as chilling as it is captivating. Kingsley brings a cold, calculating presence to the character, making him both terrifying and deeply fascinating. Every scene he shares with Tell is filled with tension, as his character personifies the oppressive system that is about to be toppled. But William Tell isn't just about the main characters. It's an ensemble piece, and the supporting cast brings their own unique energy to the screen. Jonathan Pryce, Connor Swindells, Jonah Hauer-King, and Ellie Bamber each inhabit their roles with depth and conviction, creating a rich tapestry of characters whose fates are intricately tied to Tell's revolution. But what really makes William Tell a must-see is its stunning visual and cinematic execution. The film's cinematography is nothing short of breathtaking. The sweeping landscapes of Switzerland, with its snow-capped peaks, verdant valleys, and majestic lakes, are used not just as a backdrop but as a character in their own right. The vastness of the mountains stands in stark contrast to the intensity of the personal battles that unfold within them. There is a haunting beauty in how these landscapes frame the story, sometimes symbolizing the oppression and isolation Tell faces, and at other times representing the freedom and hope he strives for. The sweeping drone shots of the alpine wilderness give the film an epic, almost mythical quality, while intimate close-ups ensure that the emotional stakes are always front and center. The action scenes in William Tell are equally remarkable. This is a film that never shies away from the violence of war and resistance, but it doesn't revel in it either. Every battle, every confrontation is carefully crafted to serve the story's emotional core, with the stakes always feeling personal. There's a palpable sense of danger and desperation in every arrow shot and every sword drawn. These moments are beautifully choreographed, making the violence feel raw and immediate, but it's the emotional beats of these scenes that truly leave an impact. The film makes you feel the weight of every choice Tell makes, whether it's standing up to the Habsburgs or protecting those he loves. Every victory, no matter how small, comes at a heavy cost. As the narrative unfolds, the plot twists and turns in ways that constantly challenge expectations. Without giving too much away, there are moments in the film where the line between hero and villain blurs, where allegiances shift, and where characters who seemed steadfast in their beliefs find themselves confronted with the unthinkable. It's a film that constantly keeps you on your toes, never letting you settle into a predictable rhythm. Each plot development feels earned and necessary, and the pacing is impeccable, keeping viewers invested in the fate of the characters even as the tension mounts. Yet, William Tell isn't just a story of violence and rebellion. It's also a profound meditation on the nature of freedom and what it takes to fight for it. At its core, this is a film about the consequences of resistance, the personal cost of standing up against tyranny, and the sacrifices that come with the pursuit of justice. There are no easy answers here. The film challenges the audience to think deeply about the ethical and moral implications of rebellion, about the fine line between heroism and fanaticism, and about the ways in which personal freedom is inextricably tied to collective struggle. It's no surprise, then, that William Tell has become a cultural phenomenon. The film's ability to balance thrilling action with thought-provoking themes has resonated with audiences around the world. It taps into the universal desire for freedom and justice, themes that have remained relevant throughout history and continue to resonate today. Whether you're drawn to the rich historical context, the stunning performances, or the breathtaking visuals, there's something in William Tell for everyone. But it's the way the film invites viewers to reflect on the cost of freedom and the personal sacrifices that make it unforgettable. The fact that such a story can feel so timeless is what elevates it from a mere historical drama to something truly extraordinary. As the credits roll, you're left with a sense of awe, not just at the scale of the story told, but at the emotional journey you've just experienced. The film's impact lingers long after it ends, leaving you reflecting on the broader implications of its themes, as well as the incredible performances and meticulous craftsmanship that brought this story to life. William Tell is a film that demands to be seen, analyzed, and discussed. It's more than just a cinematic experience. It's a conversation starter, a reflection of our shared human struggles, and an enduring reminder of the power of resistance in the face of overwhelming odds. If you haven't yet experienced William Tell, there's no better time than now. Dive deeper into the intricate layers of its narrative, the compelling performances, and the breathtaking visuals. It's a film that will stay with you long after the final frame, leaving you with a renewed sense of what it means to fight for freedom and what we are willing to sacrifice to secure it. This is more than a movie. It's a journey through history, through emotion, and through the very soul of what it means to be human. The film opens with a scene that immediately immerses you in the brutal and oppressive atmosphere of 14th century Switzerland. Snow-capped mountains stretch endlessly across the horizon, the kind of landscape that should inspire awe but instead feels cold and isolating. The camera sweeps over the terrain, capturing the vastness of the Swiss Alps, as an ominous sense of unease settles in. Beneath the beauty of the natural world lies a country on the brink of insurrection, a land ruled with an iron fist by the Austrian Habsburgs, whose empire has imposed its control over the peaceful Swiss people. This is where William Tell begins, in the heart of tyranny. The story swiftly introduces William Tell, played by the compelling Claes. He is not yet the legendary hero we know him to be, but a simple hunter, quiet, reserved, and seemingly at peace with his life in the Alps. The film's opening sequence paints him as a man who, though capable of extraordinary feats, is driven more by his desire for peace than by the urge for revolution. Tell is a loving father, a devoted husband, and someone who would rather live quietly with his family than engage in the politics of his time. His home, nestled in the mountains, is a place of warmth and safety, a stark contrast to the dark forces gathering outside. However, that peace is shattered when the Habsburgs, under the rule of King Albert, a chilling Kingsley, begin imposing harsher and harsher rules upon the Swiss people. It begins subtly through increased taxes, laws that stifle the spirit of independence, and the continued demand for loyalty to a foreign crown. Yet, it isn't long before the full extent of their brutality becomes clear. The Habsburg soldiers, under the direction of the cruel and calculating Captain Gessler, played by an unknown but menacing actor, enforce their rule with unrelenting violence. The Swiss people are stripped of their dignity, their land, and their very identity. The once peaceful and proud nation is now a colony of oppression. It's during a tense encounter with one of Gessler's men that we first see Tell's true nature. He is forced to make an impossible decision, to obey the orders of the invaders or to resist. The infamous incident with the apple, where Tell is forced to shoot an apple off his son's head, is both harrowing and symbolic. The scene is heart-pounding, with every second of suspense building as Tell takes aim. The moment the arrow flies, it's not just a test of Tell's skill. It's a test of his soul. For him, this is no longer a simple act of defiance. It is the beginning of something much larger. The apple falls, the arrow strikes, and Tell's fate is sealed. He is marked as a symbol of resistance, the first spark of a fire that will soon engulf the entire country. But this moment of triumph is not without consequence. While Tell's action may seem like a personal victory, it sets off a chain of events that will turn his life upside down. As he returns home, he is greeted by the warmth of his family, particularly his wife, Suna, played by the brilliant Golshifteh Farahani, whose worry for him is palpable. Their relationship, one of deep love and mutual respect, becomes the emotional heart of the story. Suna is not just a passive figure in Tell's life. She is a strong, resourceful woman who plays a critical role in his journey. She understands the weight of what Tell has done, and while she supports him, her fear for the future is evident. The love between them is tested, not just by the external forces of war, but by the internal strain of having to face what their rebellion might mean for their family. The first half of the movie is all about the tension between the personal and the political, the private struggles and the public acts of defiance. Tell's transformation from a quiet, reluctant man to a leader of a revolution is gradual, but it is inevitable. As the Habsburgs crack down harder on the Swiss people, it becomes clear that Tell cannot remain on the sidelines. His moral compass, once guided by a desire for peace, now points toward resistance. The pressure mounts when Tell is summoned by Gessler, the sadistic captain who represents the foreign occupiers. Gessler is not merely a villain in this story. He is the embodiment of the harsh, unyielding force of colonialism. He is manipulative, cruel, and plays mind games with the people of Switzerland, trying to break their spirit. His confrontation with Tell sets the stage for the first major turning point in the film. Gessler seeks to humiliate Tell, but instead, Tell's defiance inspires others, creating a spark of hope in a world consumed by fear. It's a moment of empowerment, not just for Tell, but for all those around him who begin to see that resistance is possible. The tension between these two characters, Tell and Gessler, is one of the film's key driving forces. The battles they fight are not just physical, they are ideological. Gessler believes in the absolute power of the crown, while Tell believes in the right of a people to govern themselves. Their first encounter is a game of psychological warfare, a battle of wills. While Gessler is determined to crush Tell's spirit, Tell's calm defiance, coupled with his ability to maintain control in the face of terror, begins to shift the balance of power. In the midst of all this chaos, the film introduces a number of secondary characters who each play crucial roles in the unfolding drama. There's the enigmatic leader of the resistance, played by Jonathan Pryce, whose knowledge of the political landscape and strategic mind becomes invaluable to the rebellion's efforts. Then there's Jonah Hauer-King's character, a fiery young rebel who is eager for action but often too impulsive for his own good. His enthusiasm serves as both an asset and a liability, and his actions, while heroic, often have unintended consequences. Ellie Bamber's character, a young woman with ties to both the resistance and the Habsburgs, is caught in a moral dilemma. She is drawn to Tell's cause but is torn between loyalty to her family and the undeniable pull of justice. Each of these characters adds a layer of complexity to the narrative, making it clear that William Tell is not just a simple story of a lone hero battling a single villain. It's a multifaceted tale of a country on the brink of revolution, where every person has a role to play and every choice has consequences. As the first half of the film draws to a close, the stakes are higher than ever. Tell, who once sought to avoid conflict, is now fully immersed in the struggle for Switzerland's freedom. The rebellion grows, drawing in more people from all walks of life. Farmers, merchants, soldiers, and even women who once thought themselves powerless. Their collective strength begins to match the intensity of the Habsburgs' oppression. However, as the rebellion grows, so does the danger. The Habsburgs are not content to simply crush Tell. They are determined to make an example of him, and they will stop at nothing to ensure his defeat. One of the most pivotal moments in this section occurs when Tell is forced to make an impossible decision. His family is threatened, and he must choose between his loyalty to the cause and the safety of his loved ones. This choice highlights the internal conflict that drives Tell's character, his desire for peace versus the necessity of war. It's a heartbreaking moment, and one that sets the stage for the epic battles to come. Throughout the first half of William Tell, the tension never lets up. Every scene is filled with suspense, as the threat of violence and betrayal looms over the characters. The stakes are constantly raised, with each twist and turn further escalating the conflict. The performances are stellar, with Bang's portrayal of Tell capturing the character's inner turmoil and quiet strength. Farahani's portrayal of Suna adds emotional depth to the story, making the viewer care not just about the political revolution, but about the human cost of war. Kingsley's Gessler is terrifyingly powerful, a force of nature that seems impossible to defeat. By the time the first half of the film concludes, William Tell has firmly established itself as a cinematic triumph. The characters are fully realized, the stakes have been set, and the path ahead is fraught with peril. The audience is left hanging on the edge of their seats, eager to see what will happen next as the rebellion grows and the story enters its most thrilling chapters. The second half of William Tell catapults the story from its tense, character-driven foundation into an exhilarating, heart-pounding battle for freedom. The stakes are higher now. Tell is no longer a man merely seeking to protect his family. He is the leader of a rebellion that will determine the future of Switzerland. The tension between the Swiss people and the oppressive Habsburgs escalates as the lines between loyalty and betrayal blur. Friendships are tested, and the personal stakes of revolution become even more apparent. This section of the film marks the shift from private battles to large-scale conflict, but it never loses sight of the emotional and moral journeys that the characters are undergoing. As the rebellion gains momentum, Tell's transformation is undeniable. Gone is the man who once sought peace at all costs. Now he stands resolute, the weight of his responsibility pressing heavily on his shoulders. He's no longer just fighting for survival. He's fighting for a vision of a free Switzerland. The film beautifully captures this internal evolution, showing how Tell's conviction grows stronger with every setback, every sacrifice. The mounting pressure is reflected in his eyes. Eyes that once exuded uncertainty now burn with the fire of a leader who knows that the cost of victory might be more than he's willing to pay. The first major turning point in the second half comes with the shocking capture of his son, a heartbreaking act of retaliation by the Habsburgs. This moment is not only a blow to Tell but to the entire rebellion. The Swiss people are desperate. They've come to see Tell as their beacon of hope, their symbol of resistance. His son's capture is an emotional blow that threatens to break his spirit. For a fleeting moment, we see Tell lose his composure. He is no longer the calm, collected figure of the first half of the film. The love for his son, who represents everything he's fighting for, eclipses his duty as a leader, leaving him vulnerable. This vulnerability is a critical moment in the film, as it demonstrates that, despite his growing power, Tell is still a human being capable of immense love and pain. The pain of losing his son becomes the catalyst for the most daring decision of his life. Tell must now confront the fact that revolution is not just about ideals, it's about sacrifice. Every action he takes, every move he makes could result in further loss. His family, his friends, and his people are all in danger. Yet, with the fire of revenge in his heart, Tell makes a choice that will resonate throughout the remainder of the film. The emotional weight of his son's capture drives the plot forward, creating an inevitable march toward the climactic battle that looms on the horizon. The rebellion, now fully organized and mobilized, begins to take its toll on the Habsburgs. The resistance movement is emboldened, its strength and unity growing as the Swiss people rally around Tell. Tell's allies become increasingly instrumental in the unfolding action. Suna, in particular, becomes a driving force in shaping the rebellion's strategy. While Tell has been the face of the movement, Suna's intelligence and resilience have kept their fight grounded. Her decisions, like those of Tell, have far-reaching consequences, and it's clear that without her, the rebellion may have failed before it had even started. The subplot involving Suna's internal conflict is also deepened in the second half of the film. Though she supports her husband's cause, she is increasingly torn by the sacrifices they are both making. The love she shares with Tell is constantly tested. She must come to terms with the truth that their fight is not just for their son, but for a greater cause, a cause that could tear their family apart. In these quiet, tense moments between the two, we see how their love is the bedrock of the film. It's not just the relationship between a husband and wife, it's the relationship between two people who understand, perhaps more than anyone else, the immense cost of standing up to tyranny. Meanwhile, the opposition grows more brutal. Gessler, the sadistic captain, becomes a figure even more terrifying in the second half of the film. No longer content to merely oppress the people, he embarks on a campaign of terror to crush the rebellion once and for all. His pursuit of Tell becomes personal. This is no longer just about defeating an enemy. This is about revenge. The hatred between these two men simmers, escalating into a full-fledged, life-or-death struggle that will reach its peak in the film's climax. Ben Kingsley's portrayal of Gessler intensifies in the second half. His cold, unyielding demeanor becomes increasingly more unhinged, as he will stop at nothing to break the resistance. He is the embodiment of tyranny, and every action he takes is calculated to break the will of the Swiss people. In the midst of this battle between two formidable forces, the film does an excellent job of maintaining the tension between the personal and the political. The personal relationships between the characters continue to play a critical role. There are moments of light amid the darkness. Small victories, small moments of joy and connection that make the pain of loss all the more profound. These moments are crucial because they give the audience something to root for. It's not just about the grand, sweeping actions of revolution. It's about the small, intimate moments of humanity that remind us of what's at stake. The stakes are raised further when Tell learns that the Habsburgs have discovered the location of the rebel hideout. This is where the rebellion will be decided. It's a moment of inevitability, the final showdown that has been building throughout the film. The tension in the air is thick as Tell, Suna, and their allies prepare for the coming battle. The final strategy is set, and the film takes a darker turn, as everyone knows that some may not make it out alive. The film's pacing quickens, each second building the tension as the soldiers gather, ready to face the rebels in a bloody confrontation. What follows is a sequence of heart-stopping battles, marked by brilliant choreography and cinematography. But it's the emotional undercurrent that drives the action. Every battle is a test of loyalty, not just to the cause but to each other. The Swiss rebels fight with everything they have, but it's clear that not all of them will survive. Each casualty feels like a personal loss. Every death is a reminder of the toll of revolution. The action, though exhilarating, is underscored by the grim realization that the fight for freedom comes at a tremendous cost. In the final moments before the battle, Tell's inner conflict reaches its peak. In a powerful scene, he faces Gessler once again, the man who has become his greatest enemy. Their confrontation is not just about physical prowess. It is about their conflicting worldviews, their beliefs about justice, freedom, and the cost of war. This moment encapsulates everything the film has been building toward, the personal and the political, the hero and the villain, all coming to a head in a single, unforgettable moment. Tell's victory is not without sacrifice. The emotional weight of the final confrontation is staggering. Every victory feels hollow in the face of loss, every triumph overshadowed by the destruction that revolution leaves in its wake. Yet there is a sense of resolution in the aftermath, a feeling that despite the pain, the battle has been worth it. The rebellion is far from over, but the film leaves us with the sense that, no matter the cost, the fight for freedom is never truly in vain. The film's closing moments echo the themes that have been present throughout. It's not just about William Tell as a historical figure, but about the timeless fight for justice and the price of standing up to tyranny. The characters, each scarred by the events of the revolution, reflect the cost of their actions. As the film concludes, there is a sense of hope amidst the sorrow, a feeling that even though the journey is far from over, the spirit of the Swiss people remains unbroken. In the second half of William Tell, the film transitions from a story of individual resistance to a broader narrative of national revolution. It's a story that doesn't shy away from the cost of freedom, but it also celebrates the unbreakable will of the human spirit. By the end, it's clear that William Tell is more than just the tale of a man with a bow and arrow. It's a profound exploration of sacrifice, loyalty, and the eternal struggle for justice. The characters of William Tell are not simply figures who move the plot forward. They are the heart and soul of the film, each one deeply layered, embodying the moral complexities and emotional stakes of a country on the edge of revolution. The way these characters evolve over the course of the film, and how they interact with one another, adds both texture and depth to the narrative, making it far more than just a story of political resistance. It's a film about personal sacrifice, moral dilemmas, and the inevitable human cost of fighting for a cause greater than oneself. As we dive deeper into the characters, we see not just the warriors they become but the people they are beneath their armor. Flawed, vulnerable, yet unyielding in their pursuit of justice. At the heart of the film is William Tell himself, a character whose journey from a reluctant hero to a fierce leader is both compelling and heart-wrenching. Played by Claes with a quiet intensity, Tell's transformation is one of the most fascinating elements of the film. In the opening moments, he is a simple hunter, a family man who would rather avoid conflict than seek it out. He's the kind of man who finds solace in the wilderness, where the brutality of the world doesn't reach him. Yet, as the Habsburgs tighten their grip on Switzerland, Tell is thrust into a conflict that he can no longer ignore. What begins as an act of defiance, the shooting of an apple off his son's head, sets in motion a sequence of events that will irrevocably change him. At first, Tell is a man trapped between his love for his family and his desire for peace. But as the oppression from the Habsburgs becomes more brutal, we watch him slowly shift from a man seeking to protect his loved ones to a leader of an entire nation's rebellion. What makes Tell so engaging as a character is his inner struggle. He is not a man driven by a thirst for power or fame, but by a deep sense of justice. The pain of seeing his people suffer cuts him to the core, and his transformation is not one of ambition, but of necessity. As he becomes more entrenched in the revolution, the weight of leadership begins to wear on him. His moral compass is tested repeatedly. His love for his wife, his son, and the people of Switzerland constantly clash with the brutal reality of war. Claes portrayal captures this internal conflict perfectly. He conveys a man who is not comfortable with his newfound role but accepts it, knowing that there is no turning back. The pivotal moment in Tell's journey comes when his son is captured by the Habsburgs, an act of revenge that forces Tell to confront the true cost of the revolution. This loss is a powerful turning point in Tell's character arc, and Bang's performance in these scenes is devastating. The raw emotion he brings to the screen as Tell grapples with his inability to protect his son reveals the vulnerability of a man who has been molded by war and grief, but not entirely hardened by it. It is this vulnerability that makes Tell such a powerful character. He is, at his core, a man of principle who must reconcile his love for his family with his obligation to fight for something greater than himself. By the end of the film, we see that Tell has undergone a profound transformation, not just as a leader, but as a father and a husband. The revolution may have cost him dearly, but it has also solidified his place as a symbol of hope and defiance. Counterbalancing Tell's journey is the character of Suna, his wife, played with grace and strength by Golshifteh Farahani. Suna is, in many ways, the emotional anchor of the film. She is not just a passive observer in the story but an active participant in the revolution. Her arc is just as important as Tell's, even though it takes a quieter, more internalized form. While Tell is off leading the rebellion and fighting battles, Suna is at home, managing the ever-growing pressures of being a wife and mother in a time of war. Yet she is far from helpless. Farahani imbues Suna with intelligence, resilience, and a deep emotional strength that allows her to navigate the emotional and political complexities of the situation. She supports her husband's cause but is also the one who must hold the family together when Tell becomes consumed by his duties as a leader. What's remarkable about Suna's character is how her internal conflict mirrors that of her husband. She, too, is torn between loyalty to her family and the greater cause of the revolution. Her relationship with Tell is defined by love, but also by the painful acknowledgement that their fight for freedom will come at a great personal cost. Suna's arc reaches its emotional zenith when she realizes that the cost of their fight may very well tear apart the family they've fought so hard to protect. In this sense, Suna becomes the moral compass of the story. While Tell may be driven by the need to fight for freedom, Suna represents the personal sacrifices that come with revolution. Farahani's performance is subtle yet powerful, capturing the quiet strength of a woman who is not just a bystander but an essential part of the fight. Her journey may not be as visibly heroic as Tell's, but it is no less impactful. Then there's Captain Gessler, the ruthless antagonist of the film, played with chilling intensity by Kingsley. Gessler is not merely a villain in the traditional sense. He is the embodiment of tyranny. His motivations are simple: maintain control, crush the rebellion, and suppress any attempt at Swiss independence. But what makes him such a compelling character is how personal his pursuit of Tell becomes. Gessler is not just a soldier carrying out orders. He is a man driven by a need for power, a man who will stop at nothing to break the spirit of the people he has conquered. Kingsley's portrayal of Gessler is cold, calculating, and deeply menacing. He is a man who enjoys cruelty, who finds satisfaction in humiliating the people of Switzerland. What makes Gessler such an effective villain is his emotional coldness. He is unflappable in the face of violence, and his willingness to take things to extremes only makes him more terrifying. Yet Gessler's character is not without nuance. As the film progresses, we see the cracks in his facade. He becomes more desperate, more fixated on bringing Tell to justice, and this obsession reveals the vulnerability beneath his cold exterior. Kingsley expertly conveys this shift, showing a man who, despite his authority and power, is slowly losing control. His desperation to quash the rebellion turns into an obsession, and it is this obsession that drives the final confrontation between him and Tell. Gessler's downfall is both inevitable and tragic. He is so consumed by his pursuit of power that he cannot see the inevitable tide of change coming. His arc is a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked authority, and Kingsley's performance leaves a lasting impact, making Gessler one of the most memorable villains in recent cinematic history. Supporting characters also play crucial roles in driving the plot forward, each adding layers to the story's complexity. Jonathan Pryce's portrayal of the enigmatic leader of the resistance is a fascinating one. He is a character shrouded in mystery, wise, strategic, and deeply knowledgeable about the political landscape of the time. His relationship with Tell is one of mutual respect but also one of pragmatism. He sees in Tell the potential for leadership, but he also understands the human cost of revolution. Pryce's performance is understated yet compelling, allowing the character to stand out without overshadowing the central narrative. He serves as a voice of reason in the face of an escalating conflict, reminding Tell and the other characters that the fight for freedom requires sacrifice, but that victory must always come at a price. Then there is Jonah Hauerking's character, a fiery young rebel whose enthusiasm for the cause sometimes leads him into rash decisions. He is the embodiment of youthful idealism, and while his heart is in the right place, his actions often have unintended consequences. His relationship with Tell is one of admiration, but also one of tension, as Tell struggles with the reckless bravery of youth and the harsh realities of war. Howard King's performance is a balancing act of optimism and naivety, and it is through his character that we see the innocence of the rebellion begin to erode as the stakes of war become clearer. His arc serves as a reminder that revolution is never as clean or straightforward as it seems. Lastly, Ellie Bamber's character, caught between loyalty to her family and the growing pull of justice, adds another layer of complexity to the narrative. Torn between her allegiance to the Habsburgs and her moral desire to fight for the Swiss cause, she embodies the inner conflict of a country divided. Her journey is a microcosm of the larger story at play, showing how individuals are forced to make impossible choices in times of war. Bamber's performance is delicate and nuanced, capturing the emotional weight of her character's struggles. In William Tell, every character, main and supporting, serves as a vital piece of the puzzle, each one playing a role in the unfolding drama. Their motivations, transformations, and arcs intertwine seamlessly, giving the film emotional depth and narrative complexity. Whether as a hero, a villain, or an ally, these characters make the story come alive, turning William Tell from a historical epic into a deeply human tale of sacrifice, struggle, and the unyielding desire for freedom. William Tell isn't just a gripping historical epic. It's a treasure trove of subtle references, callbacks, and hidden details that reward attentive viewers. The filmmakers have carefully woven layers of symbolism, foreshadowing, and cultural references into the narrative, creating a cinematic experience that feels richer and more rewarding with each rewatch. These details aren't just tucked away for the sake of cleverness. They deepen our understanding of the characters, themes, and the world they inhabit. Much like the Swiss mountains that tower over the characters in the film, these hidden elements rise quietly, standing as a testament to the filmmakers' meticulous attention to detail and their commitment to creating a world that feels lived in and historically resonant. One of the most significant and satisfying elements of the film is how it anchors the story in the real historical context of Switzerland's struggle for independence. The visual cues and subtle references to Swiss culture and history are skillfully woven into the fabric of the narrative. And these aren't just for history buffs. These details serve to deepen the emotional stakes for every viewer, regardless of their knowledge of the past. Early in the film, when Tell is seen hunting in the woods with his bow, there's a deliberate framing of the landscape that mirrors traditional Swiss landscapes in art. The snow-capped mountains, the dense forests, and the rushing rivers. The natural beauty of Switzerland is ever present in the backdrop, and the framing of the scenes often evokes the iconic, stylized landscapes that have come to symbolize Swiss identity. The mountains are not just a physical presence but a reminder of the country's resilience and the strength that can be drawn from the land. This isn't just a backdrop. It's a symbol of the rebellion itself, a steadfast force against the oppressive Habsburgs. These landscapes remind the viewer that Switzerland, even at its lowest points, is indomitable, a theme echoed throughout the film. One of the film's most striking symbolic elements is the recurring motif of the apple. At the heart of William Tell lies the iconic moment when Tell is forced to shoot an apple off his son's head. A moment of intense tension, but also one that acts as a critical turning point in the narrative. The apple is not just a tool of defiance in this scene. It's a symbolic object that appears throughout the film in varying forms, hinting at deeper layers of meaning. Early on, in a scene where Tell is spending time with his family, the apple is subtly present in the background of the shot. It's placed on a table near Tell and his son, and the camera lingers on it for just a moment longer than necessary, foreshadowing the iconic scene to come. This subtle foreshadowing acts as a quiet prelude to the tension that will unfold, inviting the viewer to subconsciously prepare for the moment when the apple will take center stage. Later in the film, after the shooting of the apple, the symbolism of the fruit becomes even more pronounced. The moment is not just about survival, it's about control, autonomy, and the choices that Tell must make as a father and as a leader. The apple, in this sense, represents both the innocence that is at stake and the dangerous cost of defying authority. It is a reminder that no act of rebellion comes without risk, and that those we love are often the most vulnerable targets of oppression. Tell's decision to shoot the apple off his son's head is not just a personal act of bravery. It is a moment of transformation that symbolizes the cost of freedom echoing the larger themes of sacrifice and resistance that resonate throughout the film. While the apple stands out as the film's central symbolic object, there are other visual motifs that emerge throughout the narrative, subtly hinting at deeper connections to the story's larger themes. One such motif is the consistent presence of shadows. Shadows often loom over key moments in the film, casting a veil of uncertainty over the characters' actions. They are present in scenes of pivotal decisions, like when Tell is forced to confront the cost of his rebellion, or when he faces the emotional and physical toll of the revolution. The shadows that flicker across the characters' faces suggest the moral ambiguity they must grapple with. There are no clear-cut answers in the fight for freedom, only the dark specter of what may be lost along the way. The shadow motif also has a cultural resonance, as shadows in Swiss folk art are often depicted in a way that represents the balance between light and dark, a recurring theme in Swiss identity, where the fight for independence has always involved navigating the precarious line between preserving personal freedoms and confronting external threats. The visual use of shadows acts as a constant reminder that even in moments of victory, the cost of freedom remains shrouded in uncertainty. In addition to these visual and symbolic motifs, William Tell also incorporates a series of subtle references to Swiss mythology and folklore, paying homage to the rich cultural heritage that underpins the nation's struggle for independence. One of the most intriguing references is the way in which Tell's character arc parallels that of the legendary figure from Swiss mythology. The historical Tell, of course, is known for his legendary marksmanship and defiance against the Habsburgs, but the film takes this further by introducing elements from Swiss folktales that seem to reverberate through the character's journey. For instance, the character of Tell is often shown in scenes that evoke the mythic hero, standing alone against a tyrannical force, facing seemingly insurmountable odds, yet never wavering in his resolve. In one scene, just before the rebellion begins to take shape, the camera lingers on Tell as he surveys the land from a high vantage point. The shot composition here mirrors that of many classical depictions of Swiss heroes in folk art, where the hero gazes out over a rugged, untamed landscape, preparing to face the challenge ahead. It's a quiet yet powerful visual callback to the mythic roots of the Tell story. His very presence in the landscape suggests that he is a part of a much larger narrative, one that stretches back through the ages and speaks to the deep, almost spiritual connection between the Swiss people and their land. This connection, as portrayed in the film, is not just geographic but ideological. The land represents the enduring spirit of the people, and Tell, like the mythical heroes before him, is the embodiment of that spirit. Another fascinating Easter egg for those who know Swiss folklore is the use of the Tell shot during a key moment in the film's second half. In a dramatic scene, Tell is forced to take a shot that seems impossible, yet he does so with a precision and calmness that is almost superhuman. This moment, in which Tell's marksmanship is put to the ultimate test, is a direct reference to the legendary Tell shot, a moment from folklore in which Tell is forced to shoot an apple off a man's head. The film cleverly mirrors this myth, not only in the central apple-shooting scene but also by tying Tell's mastery with the bow to the larger narrative of a people whose struggle for independence is marked by skill, courage, and a sense of fated destiny. This reference speaks to the fact that Tell is more than just a man of his time. He is an archetype, a mythic figure whose actions resonate beyond his own life. The soundtrack, too, contains hidden details that reward careful listening. Throughout the film, the music subtly reflects the emotional arc of the characters, but there are also moments when the score directly alludes to traditional Swiss music. For instance, during moments of great personal loss or emotional tension, the score incorporates faint strains of the Ranz des Vaches, a traditional Swiss yodel. This haunting melody, which was historically used to signal a shepherd's return home, serves as a symbolic callback to the Swiss people's connection to the land and their enduring sense of community. The music brings a deeper resonance to the narrative, grounding the film in the cultural and emotional geography of Switzerland itself. These small touches of traditional music reinforce the idea that the rebellion is not just a political struggle, but one that taps into the collective identity of the Swiss people, a people whose roots are inextricably tied to the land and to one another. And then there are the more subtle callbacks to the earlier moments of the film that only come into focus later on. A scene in the film's opening, when Tell takes a shot in the woods to hunt, serves as a foreshadowing of the critical moment where his skills will be tested on a much higher stage. The camera lingers on his hand as it nimbly strings the bow, the tension in the moment mirroring the internal conflict that he will soon face. At the time, the moment seems simple, Tell is merely hunting. But as the story unfolds, this moment becomes a crucial part of his transformation into a leader of a revolution, and the seemingly small act of shooting becomes emblematic of the choices he must make in the larger fight for freedom. The inclusion of visual callbacks to Tell's early life, such as his interaction with the natural world and the quieter moments with his family, also invites the viewer to consider the larger question of what it means to be a hero. These small, personal moments contrast with the violence and chaos that later engulf the film, underscoring the cost of revolution, not just for Tell, but for everyone involved. The film is not just about the battle for Switzerland's independence. It's also about the personal cost that comes with fighting for something greater than oneself. As the final scenes unfold, all of these details, whether the shadowy imagery, the repeated symbolic presence of the apple, the echoes of folklore, or the haunting musical motifs, come together to create a story that is as rich in its emotional and cultural layers as it is in its action. William Tell is more than just a retelling of a historical event. It's a film that rewards those willing to look deeper, to understand the symbolic weight of every shot, every gesture, and every note in the score. By the end, the audience is left with a profound appreciation not just for the revolution, but for the intricate web of meanings that weave together to make this cinematic experience unforgettable. Creating a cinematic masterpiece is always a journey filled with challenges, unexpected surprises, and stories that often don't make it to the final cut. William Tell, 2024, is no exception. Beneath its stunning visuals, breathtaking performances, and epic historical narrative lies a tale of behind-the-scenes drama, creative risks, and moments of sheer unpredictability that made the film even more remarkable. For those who are fans of the finished product, uncovering these strange facts and stories offers an exciting glimpse into the complexities of filmmaking and the fascinating world behind the camera. From the moment the idea for William Tell was conceived, it was clear that this wouldn't be a conventional film. The decision to tackle such a beloved and mythic figure in Swiss history, particularly one whose legend has been told in countless forms over the centuries, made the creative process anything but straightforward. The filmmakers knew they had to create a version of Tell that would stand out in an overcrowded field of historical epics. The question wasn't just how to make Tell relevant to a modern audience, but how to capture the spirit of the character in a way that felt authentic to both the history and the mythology. This challenge would set the tone for everything that came after, from the writing process to the filmmaking itself. One of the most unusual aspects of the production came from the decision to film much of the movie on location in the Swiss Alps. The film's stunning visual landscapes are more than just eye candy. They were integral to the story itself. The filmmakers were determined to capture Switzerland's natural beauty, and to do so, they took a bold step. Instead of relying on green screens or CGI to replicate the rugged terrain, they shot the film in some of the most remote, inhospitable regions of the Swiss Alps. This decision, while aesthetically bold, created a host of challenges for the cast and crew. The high-altitude filming locations required careful planning and preparation, as even the most experienced crew members were faced with unexpected weather changes, dangerous terrain, and the inherent physical strain of filming at such high elevations. One particular scene, in which William Tell, played by Claes, leads a group of rebels through a mountain pass, was shot on a narrow trail that winds along the side of a steep cliff. The logistics of shooting such a scene were incredibly complex. Due to the treacherous nature of the location, it took the crew days to set up the shot, and the actors had to undergo rigorous safety training just to step onto the path. Despite the danger, the scene turned out to be one of the most visually arresting in the film, and the risk was seen as justified. For Bang, the physical demands of the film added another layer of realism to his portrayal of Tell. The harsh conditions mirrored the struggles of his character, who was forced to endure both physical and emotional challenges throughout the film. Bang's dedication to the role, he insisted on performing many of his own stunts in the rugged terrain, gave his performance an authenticity that resonated deeply with audiences. While the natural beauty of the Alps was one of the film's greatest assets, it also presented its own set of problems. The weather in the region is notoriously unpredictable, and the production faced multiple delays due to snowstorms, rain, and the seasonal fluctuations of the mountain environment. One of the most notorious instances occurred during the filming of the iconic apple shooting scene, which had already undergone a number of takes before the weather turned. Just as the scene was reaching its peak tension, the storm clouds rolled in, threatening to ruin the entire shot. The crew had to wait several hours for the weather to clear, and the tension on set was palpable. Bang, who had been rehearsing for weeks to perfect the precision of the shot, was understandably frustrated by the delays, but his commitment to the scene was unwavering. When the clouds finally parted and filming resumed, the result was a stunning sequence that is widely regarded as one of the film's most memorable moments. In many ways, that delayed moment symbolized the entire production. When the conditions were at their most difficult, the film became even more powerful. The decision to shoot in such an isolated location also brought a series of logistical challenges that many viewers may not realize. The crew had to work around the sparse infrastructure of the region, including the lack of hotels or convenient transportation. Actors and crew members were often forced to stay in makeshift accommodations that were far from luxurious. The set was a small, isolated village that had been transformed into a functioning filming location, complete with temporary structures to house the cast and crew. For many, the experience of living in the Alps while filming was a profound one. It deepened the connection to the story and allowed the filmmakers to authentically convey the rugged, unforgiving nature of the landscape. However, this also led to some bizarre moments. Actors and crew members alike were known to trek through deep snow in the middle of the night just to reach the nearest village for supplies. These surreal and exhausting experiences became a bonding experience for the cast, as they all understood the sacrifices that were required to bring William Tell to life. In terms of casting, one of the most talked about aspects of the film was the choice of Claes Bang as the titular hero. While the actor was known for his roles in The Square and Dracula, William Tell marked a major departure from his previous roles. Bang's portrayal of Tell, a character known for his stoic nature and moral conviction, required him to dig deep into the complexities of a man who is both a father and a leader, someone who must balance personal grief with national duty. However, the process of casting the role wasn't as straightforward as one might imagine. In fact, Bang almost didn't get the part. Director Lars von Trier, who helmed the project, initially struggled to find an actor who could embody the physicality and emotional depth of Tell. The role was even offered to several other well-known actors, but none of them seemed to be the right fit. It wasn't until von Trier saw Bang's audition that he knew he had found his Tell. The actor's ability to blend intensity with vulnerability made him the perfect choice, and the decision to cast him was ultimately one of the film's greatest successes. Interestingly, Bang's approach to the character was deeply informed by his own experiences living in Scandinavia. He has spoken in interviews about how the harsh, cold landscapes of Sweden and Denmark mirrored the Swiss Alps in many ways, and he used that connection to tap into the emotional depth required for the role. His performances in nature, he believed, became a reflection of Tell's internal battle, a constant clash between his desire to protect his family and his obligation to lead a revolution. But what's even more fascinating is that, to prepare for the role, Bang also studied the traditional art of archery, even going so far as to spend weeks training with expert marksmen in order to perfect the scenes that called for him to use a bow and arrow. This level of dedication, combined with his raw talent as an actor, helped to create the iconic image of William Tell as both a father and a revolutionary leader. While Bang's commitment to the role was evident, William Tell was not without its moments of controversy, particularly when it came to the film's portrayal of the Swiss resistance. One of the more polarizing elements of the film was its depiction of the rebels' tactics and motivations. Many viewers were quick to draw comparisons to modern-day political movements, with some critics accusing the film of drawing uncomfortable parallels to contemporary protests and uprisings. The film's portrayal of the resistance fighters as a deeply fragmented group, with conflicting ideologies and personal agendas, caused an uproar among certain Swiss nationalists, who felt that the film undermined the unity of the country's struggle for independence. On the other hand, the filmmakers argued that these nuanced portrayals were a reflection of the true complexity of revolution. There is no one-size-fits-all portrayal of resistance, they argued, and by presenting these differing perspectives, The film aimed to show the personal cost of revolution, not just in terms of lives lost, but in the emotional toll it takes on those who fight for freedom. Another controversial moment occurred during the climactic scene, where William Tell faces off against his greatest adversary, Captain Gessler. The brutality of their final confrontation, which includes some intense hand-to-hand combat and a series of graphic deaths, sparked a heated debate about the film's level of violence. Some critics argued that the film glorified violence, while others contended that it was necessary to show the harshness of war. These moments were not just designed for shock value, but were intended to show the physical and emotional toll that the revolution took on everyone involved. The filmmakers knew they were walking a fine line. While the violence was necessary to demonstrate the stakes of the conflict, they also had to ensure it didn't overshadow the film's emotional depth. At the end of the day, William Tell became more than just a historical epic. It was a reflection of the pain, complexity, and sacrifice that comes with the pursuit of freedom. Behind the scenes, the film was shaped by the passion and dedication of everyone involved. From the cast and crew who braved the elements in the Swiss Alps to the filmmakers who took risks and tackled difficult, controversial material. The stories of how William Tell came together, often messy, sometimes chaotic, but always driven by a shared desire to tell this story in the most authentic way possible, serve as a reminder of how powerful cinema can be in capturing not just history, but the spirit of those who live it. William Tell, 2024, is more than just a historical epic. It's a film that's built on moments, small and large, that resonate deeply with audiences. Each scene is crafted with care and intention, designed not only to entertain but to evoke strong emotions, provoke thought, and leave a lasting impact. The beauty of the film lies in how these moments are woven together, culminating in an experience that is both thrilling and introspective. It is through the exploration of the most impactful scenes, their emotional depth, thematic significance, and the audience's response that we can truly understand the power of William Tell as a cinematic achievement. These scenes are not just plot points. They are windows into the hearts and minds of the characters, allowing us to experience their struggles, triumphs, and fears as if they were our own. One of the most significant moments in the film, and perhaps one of the most iconic in cinematic history, is the apple shooting scene. This moment, which has been a staple of the William Tell legend for centuries, is not merely an action sequence. It is the culmination of everything Tell stands for: defiance, precision, and the unyielding will to protect his family. The sequence is meticulously designed to convey not just the physical tension of the act, but the psychological weight behind it. The tension is palpable, not only in the audience but in Tell himself. As he stands in front of his son, bow drawn, the camera zooms in on his face, capturing the concentration, the fear, and the determination all at once. The moment is a delicate balance. One small misstep, one tremor in his hand, and his son's life could be forfeit. The slow build-up to the shot is enhanced by the intense silence, with the only sound being the wind in the trees, the rustling of leaves, and the faint sound of Tell's breath. Interestingly, Bang's approach to the character was deeply informed by his own experiences living in Scandinavia. He has spoken in interviews about how the harsh, cold landscapes of Sweden and Denmark mirrored the Swiss Alps in many ways, and he used that connection to tap into the emotional depth required for the role. His performances in nature, he believed, became a reflection of Tell's internal battle, a constant clash between his desire to protect his family and his obligation to lead a revolution. But what's even more fascinating is that, to prepare for the role, Bang also studied the traditional art of archery, even going so far as to spend weeks training with expert marksmen in order to perfect the scenes that called for him to use a bow and arrow. This level of dedication, combined with his raw talent as an actor, helped to create the iconic image of William Tell as both a father and a revolutionary leader. While Bang's commitment to the role was evident, William Tell was not without its moments of controversy, particularly when it came to the film's portrayal of the Swiss resistance. One of the more polarizing elements of the film was its depiction of the rebels' tactics and motivations. Many viewers were quick to draw comparisons to modern-day political movements, with some critics accusing the film of drawing uncomfortable parallels to contemporary protests and uprisings. The film's portrayal of the resistance fighters as a deeply fragmented group, with conflicting ideologies and personal agendas, caused an uproar among certain Swiss nationalists, who felt that the film undermined the unity of the country's struggle for independence. On the other hand, the filmmakers argued that these nuanced portrayals were a reflection of the true complexity of revolution. There is no one-size-fits-all portrayal of resistance, they argued, and by presenting these differing perspectives, the film aimed to show the personal cost of revolution, not just in terms of lives lost, but in the emotional toll it takes on those who fight for freedom. Another controversial moment occurred during the climactic scene, where William Tell faces off against his greatest adversary, Captain Gessler. The brutality of their final confrontation, which includes some intense hand-to-hand combat and a series of graphic deaths, sparked a heated debate about the film's level of violence. Some critics argued that the film glorified violence, while others contended that it was necessary to show the harshness of war. These moments were not just designed for shock value, but were intended to show the physical and emotional toll that the revolution took on everyone involved. The filmmakers knew they were walking a fine line. While the violence was necessary to demonstrate the stakes of the conflict, they also had to ensure it didn't overshadow the film's emotional depth. At the end of the day, William Tell became more than just a historical epic. It was a reflection of the pain, complexity, and sacrifice that comes with the pursuit of freedom. Behind the scenes, the film was shaped by the passion and dedication of everyone involved. From the cast and crew who braved the elements in the Swiss Alps to the filmmakers who took risks and tackled difficult, controversial material. The stories of how William Tell came together, often messy, sometimes chaotic, but always driven by a shared desire to tell this story in the most authentic way possible, serve as a reminder of how powerful cinema can be in capturing not just history, but the spirit of those who live it. William Tell, 2024, is more than just a historical epic. It's a film that's built on moments, small and large, that resonate deeply with audiences. Each scene is crafted with care and intention, designed not only to entertain but to evoke strong emotions, provoke thought, and leave a lasting impact. The beauty of the film lies in how these moments are woven together, culminating in an experience that is both thrilling and introspective. It is through the exploration of the most impactful scenes, their emotional depth, thematic significance, and the audience's response that we can truly understand the power of William Tell as a cinematic achievement. These scenes are not just plot points. They are windows into the hearts and minds of the characters, allowing us to experience their struggles, triumphs, and fears as if they were our own. One of the most significant moments in the film, and perhaps one of the most iconic in cinematic history, is the apple shooting scene. This moment, which has been a staple of the William Tell legend for centuries, is not merely an action sequence. It is the culmination of everything Tell stands for: defiance, precision, and the unyielding will to protect his family. The sequence is meticulously designed to convey not just the physical tension of the act, but the psychological weight behind it. The tension is palpable, not only in the audience but in Tell himself. As he stands in front of his son, bow drawn, the camera zooms in on his face, capturing the concentration, the fear, and the determination all at once. The moment is a delicate balance. One small misstep, one tremor in his hand, and his son's life could be forfeit. The slow build-up to the shot is enhanced by the intense silence, with the only sound being the wind in the trees, the rustling of leaves, and the faint sound of Tell's breath. What makes this scene particularly remarkable is the emotional depth it carries. It's not just about a man shooting an apple off his son's head. It's about a father making the ultimate sacrifice, knowing that the price of his refusal to bow to authority could be his son's life. There is an inherent tragedy in the scene, underscored by the sheer weight of the decision. Tell's defiance in the face of tyranny is noble, but it also comes with consequences, one of which is the ever-present danger to his family. The audience watches in suspense, but they also experience the emotional toll of the moment. The connection between Tell and his son is palpable, and it elevates the scene from a simple act of rebellion to a heartbreaking testament to the cost of freedom. As the shot rings out, the apple splits in half, and for a moment, time seems to stand still. The release of tension is immediate, but the emotional reverberations of the scene continue long after the action is over. The film uses this moment to set the tone for the rest of the narrative. This is a story where defiance is necessary, but it's also a story of personal sacrifice. For the audience, it's a gut-wrenching reminder that the cost of freedom is never simple, and it establishes the character of Tell as someone who will stop at nothing to protect what he loves. Another critical moment that stands out in the film is the first significant confrontation between Tell and Captain Gessler, the tyrannical Habsburg official. This encounter occurs early in the film, but it sets the stage for the entire narrative. Gessler, portrayed with chilling precision by the actor, is a man of arrogance and cruelty, and he represents everything that Tell despises. The first time these two men meet is charged with palpable animosity, and it's clear from the outset that neither will back down. The power dynamics at play here are fascinating. Tell, a man of the land, of nature, and of family, faces off against Gessler, a symbol of imperial power and oppression. What makes this scene particularly powerful is how it is layered with thematic significance. At its core, this confrontation is about control, the control of the land, the control of the people, and the control over one's own destiny. Gessler demands loyalty and submission, while Tell demands freedom and justice. This clash of ideals is portrayed not only through their words but through the visual language of the scene. The composition of the shot places Gessler high above Tell, almost as if he is looking down on the peasant, reinforcing his sense of superiority. Tell, on the other hand, is framed with the towering mountains of Switzerland in the background, signifying the land's majesty and its people's resilience. The tension in this scene is built not through physical violence but through the weight of their words. It's an ideological battle, one that will play out in many forms throughout the film, but this first meeting crystallizes the stakes of the entire story. The emotional weight of this scene is amplified by the performances of both actors. Tell's stoic defiance contrasts sharply with Gessler's arrogance, creating a sense of urgency that lingers long after the scene ends. For the audience, this moment marks the beginning of a journey where rebellion is no longer an abstract idea, but something that will come with real and painful consequences. As the story progresses, we are introduced to moments that showcase Tell's internal conflict, particularly his growing sense of responsibility as a leader of the rebellion. One of the most poignant moments occurs when Tell stands before a group of rebels, trying to rally them to take up arms against the Habsburgs. The camera lingers on his face as he delivers a speech, not of grand rhetoric, but of quiet conviction. There is no grandstanding here. Tell's power comes from his authenticity, his commitment to the cause, and the simple, undeniable truth that the time for action has come. The scene is a stark contrast to the violent battles that follow, and it's in this moment of quiet leadership that we see Tell's true transformation. He is no longer just a father seeking to protect his family. He is a symbol of resistance, and the weight of that role is felt deeply in his delivery. What makes this moment so impactful is that it focuses on the emotional and psychological toll that leadership takes on a person. The camera lingers on Tell's weary expression, capturing the strain of a man who has carried the weight of his people's hopes and dreams. There is no easy path forward, and this scene perfectly captures the human cost of revolution. It's not just about the act of rebellion, it's about the burden of responsibility that comes with it. Tell's struggle to lead, to inspire, and to protect his people is universal, and it taps into the audience's understanding of what it means to fight for something larger than oneself. One of the most visually striking scenes in the film is when Tell and his companions face off against a group of Habsburg soldiers in a climactic battle. This scene, which serves as the turning point in the rebellion, is a masterclass in cinematic action. The choreography is intense, with close-quarter combat interspersed with wide shots of soldiers clashing on the battlefield. What makes this moment stand out, however, is not just the action but the emotional stakes behind it. It's not just a fight for victory, it's a fight for the future of Switzerland, for the freedom that has been long denied to the Swiss people. The emotional depth of this scene is highlighted by the sacrifices made by the characters. In the chaos of battle, we see characters who have fought side by side for freedom, and it's in these moments that we feel the true weight of their struggle. It's not just about defeating the enemy. It's about securing the future for their families, their homes, and their land. The cost of war is evident in every swing of the sword, every clash of armor. The brutality of the fight is underscored by the personal connections between the characters, and as the battle rages on, it becomes clear that the fight for freedom will come at an incalculable cost. Perhaps the most important thematic element in these key moments is the idea of sacrifice. The film constantly reminds us that rebellion is not a clean or simple path. It is one fraught with personal loss, moral dilemmas, and the possibility of failure. The moments of defiance, of quiet leadership, and of violent revolution all point to the same central truth, that the pursuit of freedom demands sacrifice. Whether it is the act of shooting an apple off a son's head, standing before a cruel tyrant, or leading a rebellion, each of these moments is infused with a deep understanding that freedom comes with a price. In the final scenes of the film, as the rebellion reaches its climax and the Swiss people rally behind their cause, we see the culmination of these key moments. The sacrifices made throughout the film come to a head, and the emotional weight of the narrative is felt in the closing shots. The rebellion is not without its costs, and not everyone will survive. But the final shot, which looks out over the majestic Swiss Alps, leaves the audience with a sense of hope. The land may be scarred by war, but the spirit of resistance endures. It is in this final, haunting image that William Tell achieves its true emotional power, the realization that while the price of freedom is high, it is a price worth paying. Through each of these key moments, William Tell builds a complex emotional narrative, one that explores the costs of defiance, the weight of leadership, and the personal sacrifices that shape history. These moments are the heart of the film, and they elevate the story from a simple retelling of a historical figure to a timeless meditation on the nature of freedom, sacrifice, and the human spirit. The audience is not just watching history unfold. They are living it alongside the characters, feeling the tension, the pain, and the triumph in each moment. It is this emotional connection, more than any action sequence or grand historical set piece, that makes William Tell a truly unforgettable experience. Creating a film as monumental as William Tell, 2024, is no simple feat. Behind every moment of breathtaking action, every stunning visual, and every emotionally charged scene lies a team of innovators, problem solvers, and visionaries working tirelessly to bring the story to life. The production of William Tell wasn't just about capturing the story on film, it was about pushing the boundaries of what cinema could achieve, both in terms of its creative vision and technical execution. What stands out most about this film is how the creative team managed to seamlessly blend the traditional with the groundbreaking, using the rich history of the character and his legendary feats to tell a story that felt both timeless and fresh. At the heart of this effort was the decision to film William Tell in real, rugged Swiss locations rather than relying on studio sets or digital effects. The breathtaking landscapes of the Swiss Alps are an essential part of the film, both thematically and visually. From the very first frames, it's clear that the setting is not just a backdrop but a character in itself. The decision to shoot on location, sometimes in the most remote and dangerous parts of the Alps, was a bold one, but it paid off in ways that no green screen could replicate. The landscapes are vast, imposing, and beautiful, and they provide the perfect canvas for the emotional and physical challenges the characters face. Filming in these locations, however, was not without its challenges. The team had to contend with unpredictable weather, steep cliffs, and the logistical difficulties of shooting at high altitudes. The crew often had to work around narrow windows of time to capture the perfect shot, sometimes waiting days for the weather to cooperate. But the beauty of the real locations brought a layer of authenticity to the film that would have been impossible to replicate in a studio. For the actors, the experience of filming in such a harsh, beautiful environment added to the emotional weight of their performances. Claes, who played the titular role, often spoke in interviews about how the location became an integral part of his understanding of William Tell. The cold, rugged landscape mirrored the internal battle of the character, caught between the beauty of his homeland and the brutality of the forces that seek to destroy it. In addition to the challenges posed by the location, the team also had to deal with the physical demands of shooting in such an unforgiving environment. Many of the scenes required long, strenuous hikes up mountains, through dense forests, and along narrow ridges. For example, one of the most memorable scenes in the film features Tell leading a group of rebels through a treacherous mountain pass. This sequence, which was shot on a narrow trail that drops off sharply on both sides, required hours of preparation and careful coordination between the actors, stunt coordinators, and safety teams. Bang, who performed many of his own stunts, often had to navigate the dangerous terrain while also keeping his focus on his character's emotional arc. These scenes were not just physically demanding, they were deeply personal for the actor, who saw them as a way to connect with Tell's own struggles against both external and internal forces. While shooting in such a remote location had its upsides, it also created logistical challenges. With limited access to local resources, the production team had to be creative in how they managed the day-to-day operations. Actors and crew stayed in makeshift accommodations, sometimes in tents or converted huts, far from the comforts of modern luxury. The isolation added a sense of camaraderie to the entire cast and crew. Everyone was in this together, braving the elements and working toward a shared goal. Despite the discomforts, the experience of filming in such a raw environment brought the story to life in ways that a traditional studio shoot could never have achieved. It also contributed to the authenticity of the performances. Every challenge faced by the crew mirrored the struggles faced by the characters, making it easier for the actors to tap into the emotional core of their roles. From a technical standpoint, the film also made a significant leap in how action sequences are filmed. The apple shooting scene, for example, was a marvel of precision and planning. Rather than relying on special effects or CGI, the filmmakers decided to shoot the scene using practical effects and minimal digital enhancement. The crew used a specially designed target that would allow the apple to split cleanly without the need for post-production manipulation. This dedication to realism added an extra layer of tension and excitement to the scene, as both the actors and the audience knew that the stakes were real. Claes, who had been rigorously trained in archery for months leading up to the film, performed the scene himself, showcasing his commitment to capturing the true spirit of the character. Another groundbreaking technical achievement in William Tell was the use of practical lighting in conjunction with natural elements. The film's cinematographer, who was known for his mastery of lighting in outdoor environments, worked with the crew to use the natural light of the Swiss Alps to create an ethereal, almost otherworldly look for certain key moments. By utilizing the changing light of the day, from the soft glow of dawn to the dramatic shadows of twilight, the cinematographer was able to highlight the beauty and danger of the environment, while also accentuating the emotional states of the characters. One memorable example of this technique is a scene where Tell and his companions make their way through a misty forest, with light filtering through the trees in haunting beams. The play of light and shadow enhances the feeling of uncertainty and danger, creating a visually striking image that stays with the audience long after the scene ends. The film also employed some creative visual storytelling techniques that added a layer of depth to its narrative. One such technique was the use of split-screen shots, which were employed during moments of intense emotional conflict. In one pivotal scene, Tell is shown on one side of the screen, preparing for battle, while on the other side, we see his family waiting in fear for his return. This split-screen device highlights the duality of his life, caught between his duty to his people and his love for his family. The visual contrast between the two worlds emphasizes the emotional toll that Tell's choices have on both himself and those he loves. This technique, while not new to filmmaking, was used here in a way that felt fresh and impactful, reinforcing the central themes of the story. In terms of sound design, William Tell stands out for its meticulous attention to detail. The soundscapes of the Swiss Alps, from the rustling of leaves to the crunch of snow beneath boots, are woven seamlessly into the film's score, creating an immersive experience for the audience. The sound of nature, whether it's the wind whipping through the mountains or the soft murmur of a mountain stream, becomes as much a part of the story as the characters themselves. The film's composer, who was known for his ability to blend traditional orchestral music with natural sounds, used the environment to inform the score, creating a symbiotic relationship between the visuals and the music. The music doesn't just accompany the scenes, it enhances them, deepening the emotional resonance of the action and elevating the stakes of every decision, every conflict, and every battle. Behind the scenes, the production faced several unexpected hurdles, including issues with the unpredictable weather in the Swiss Alps. There were days when snowstorms and rain disrupted filming schedules, forcing the crew to improvise and adapt. On one occasion, a crucial scene was almost ruined when a heavy fog descended on the mountains, making visibility near zero. The crew, however, turned this challenge into an opportunity, using the fog to enhance the atmosphere of the scene. Rather than trying to fight the weather, they embraced it, turning what could have been a setback into one of the most visually striking sequences in the film. This ability to think on their feet and turn obstacles into creative opportunities became one of the defining characteristics of the production. In addition to the weather, the film's budget was another hurdle that the team had to navigate. While the film boasted a significant budget, shooting in remote locations meant that many of the usual resources were not readily available. The production had to be incredibly resourceful, often relying on local craftsmen, guides, and technicians to assist with various aspects of the shoot. The community in the surrounding villages played a crucial role in the film's success, and the filmmakers worked closely with them to ensure that the film remained true to the spirit of the region. This collaboration with local communities helped to ground the film in the authentic history and culture of Switzerland, adding an extra layer of depth to the story. One particularly memorable behind-the-scenes story comes from the final battle sequence, which involved hundreds of extras and a highly complex choreography. In order to make the scene as realistic as possible, the filmmakers used a mix of practical effects, live-action stunts, and a few well-placed digital enhancements. The result is an epic, chaotic battle that feels raw and visceral. But what many don't know is that the scene nearly didn't happen. Just as the shoot was about to begin, a massive avalanche hit the area, blocking access to the set for several days. The crew had to scramble to find a new location at the last minute. But in the end, the shift proved serendipitous, as the new location provided even better opportunities for dramatic shots. The avalanche, which could have been a disaster, ended up contributing to the realism and urgency of the scene, as it felt like nature itself was playing a role in the story. In the end, William Tell is a film that embodies the spirit of innovation, whether it's in its groundbreaking use of natural environments, its technical achievements in cinematography, or its inventive use of sound and visual techniques. Every element of the film was designed to create an immersive, emotionally resonant experience, one that transported the audience not only to the historical world of William Tell, but into the heart of his struggle. Behind every beautiful shot, every powerful moment, and every unforgettable scene is a team that pushed the limits of what was possible in order to create a film that would leave a lasting impact. William Tell isn't just a historical epic. It's a testament to the power of creativity, resilience, and the willingness to push the boundaries of filmmaking in order to tell a story that resonates deeply with its audience. As William Tell, 2024, unfolds across the stunning Swiss landscapes, it becomes clear that this is not simply the tale of a man taking aim at an apple. This film delves into the deeper currents of human existence, exploring profound themes of freedom, defiance, and the eternal struggle against tyranny. The film's narrative might be rooted in a historical legend, but its resonances are universal, echoing real-world struggles, offering a mirror to our own societal and cultural conflicts. From the very beginning, William Tell positions itself as a story not just about the individual, but about the collective will of the people. The characters are shaped by the land they inhabit, and the natural beauty of Switzerland stands as a symbol of both what is at stake and what must be preserved. The rugged mountains, the vast forests, and the clear skies are as integral to the film's emotional core as the characters themselves, serving as reminders of the land's timeless beauty and the sovereignty that the Swiss people yearn to reclaim. At the heart of the film is the theme of freedom. It is a theme that beats strongly within every character, from William Tell himself to the rebels he inspires, to the oppressed villagers who risk everything for a chance to break free from the brutal control of the Habsburgs. In many ways, the land itself represents this very freedom. As the film progresses, it becomes clear that the desire for freedom isn't just about political or military victories. It is about the essence of identity, about the right to live without fear, without submission, without the crushing weight of oppressive rule. The sweeping shots of the majestic mountains are never just picturesque. They are a constant reminder of the stakes. This land, this country, and the people who call it home must resist forces that seek to dominate them. Freedom, in this sense, is not just a lofty ideal but a tangible, vital necessity. This struggle is made most palpable in the story's central confrontation, Tell's defiant act of shooting the apple off his son's head. On the surface, the act is about precision and skill, but when viewed through a more symbolic lens, it becomes clear that it represents a much larger idea. The apple is not simply a target, it represents submission, the loss of autonomy, the forced humility imposed by tyranny. By aiming at it, Tell is striking at the heart of this tyranny, rejecting the rule of the oppressive forces that demand obedience through fear and intimidation. The moment in which Tell, a father who loves his son, places his trust in the power of his skill, becomes an act of rebellion, not just against a governor but against an entire system of control. The apple, then, is a symbol of both submission and defiance, and Tell's shot signifies the rupture of a cycle of fear. The apple scene reverberates throughout the narrative, reflecting one of the film's most significant ideas, the cost of defiance. Every act of rebellion comes with its price, and Tell is well aware of the weight of his actions. His act of bravery is not simply to save his son, but to challenge the power that oppresses him. However, the aftermath of the apple shot shows the grim reality of such an act. The fallout from defying an empire is both personal and public, and Tell soon learns that defiance invites brutal retaliation. This balance between personal stakes and collective consequences is a constant throughout the film and acts as a lens through which viewers are invited to reconsider their own relationships to power and resistance. The question becomes not just what is worth fighting for, but what are we willing to sacrifice for the sake of our freedom? The tension between the personal and the collective is deepened by Tell's role in the rebellion. Early on, Tell is portrayed as a reluctant hero. He does not seek the mantle of leadership, nor does he wish to place himself at the forefront of a revolution. His primary concern is his family, his personal survival, and the preservation of his way of life. Yet, as events unfold, Tell cannot escape the larger forces at play. His evolution from a man who merely defends his own to a leader who must stand for the collective good is a poignant commentary on the nature of resistance and leadership. This is symbolized by Tell's increasing involvement in the rebellion's planning and organization, as well as his internal battle to reconcile his love for his family with the responsibility he feels to the broader cause. This progression is mirrored in his own transformation, a symbol of the shift from individual self-preservation to collective liberation. In addition to freedom, William Tell explores the theme of sacrifice. As the film's characters confront the realities of their rebellion, the personal toll of their choices becomes painfully clear. Tell's willingness to risk his son's life to strike a blow against tyranny is only the beginning. Throughout the narrative, the characters grapple with the devastating consequences of their defiance. Tell's own internal struggle becomes a metaphor for the broader sacrifices that those in revolt must make. No victory is without its price, whether it's the loss of loved ones, the destruction of the home, or the emotional toll that comes with being forced into a life of constant resistance. This theme of sacrifice is crystallized during the rebellion's climax, where the fighters face not only the enemy forces but the realization that their victories may be hollow if they lose what they hold dear. The tension between what is won and what is lost is threaded through every aspect of the narrative, and it echoes a universal truth, that freedom comes at a cost, often one too heavy for individuals and societies to bear. The symbolic elements in William Tell serve as much more than a mere visual language. They are the backbone of the film's commentary on power, rebellion, and identity. One of the most powerful symbols is the crossbow, the weapon Tell uses to challenge his enemies. The crossbow, a tool of both precision and violence, becomes a stand-in for the ideas of justice and retribution. In many ways, it represents the individual's weapon against a larger system of injustice. However, it also holds a darker side. The crossbow's use for execution, its ability to take lives, and its role in delivering punishment reflect the film's ambivalence toward violence as a means of resistance. Tell's weapon, while used to protect his family, is also a symbol of the moral complexities that arise when one is forced to defend against a much larger power. There's a tension between using the crossbow as a tool of survival and using it as a tool of liberation. This duality reflects the film's broader exploration of violence as both a necessary and destructive force in the fight for freedom. From the very beginning, William Tell positions itself as a story not just about the individual, but about the collective will of the people. The characters are shaped by the land they inhabit, and the natural beauty of Switzerland stands as a symbol of both what is at stake and what must be preserved. The rugged mountains, the vast forests, and the clear skies are as integral to the film's emotional core as the characters themselves, serving as reminders of the land's timeless beauty and the sovereignty that the Swiss people yearn to reclaim. At the heart of the film is the theme of freedom. It is a theme that beats strongly within every character, from William Tell himself to the rebels he inspires, to the oppressed villagers who risk everything for a chance to break free from the brutal control of the Habsburgs. In many ways, the land itself represents this very freedom. As the film progresses, it becomes clear that the desire for freedom isn't just about political or military victories. It is about the essence of identity, about the right to live without fear, without submission, without the crushing weight of oppressive rule. The sweeping shots of the majestic mountains are never just picturesque. They are a constant reminder of the stakes. This land, this country, and the people who call it home must resist forces that seek to dominate them. Freedom, in this sense, is not just a lofty ideal but a tangible, vital necessity. This struggle is made most palpable in the story's central confrontation, Tell's defiant act of shooting the apple off his son's head. On the surface, the act is about precision and skill, but when viewed through a more symbolic lens, it becomes clear that it represents a much larger idea. The apple is not simply a target, it represents submission, the loss of autonomy, the forced humility imposed by tyranny. By aiming at it, Tell is striking at the heart of this tyranny, rejecting the rule of the oppressive forces that demand obedience through fear and intimidation. The moment in which Tell, a father who loves his son, places his trust in the power of his skill, becomes an act of rebellion, not just against a governor but against an entire system of control. The apple, then, is a symbol of both submission and defiance, and Tell's shot signifies the rupture of a cycle of fear. The apple scene reverberates throughout the narrative, reflecting one of the film's most significant ideas, the cost of defiance. Every act of rebellion comes with its price, and Tell is well aware of the weight of his actions. His act of bravery is not simply to save his son, but to challenge the power that oppresses him. However, the aftermath of the apple shot shows the grim reality of such an act. The fallout from defying an empire is both personal and public, and Tell soon learns that defiance invites brutal retaliation. This balance between personal stakes and collective consequences is a constant throughout the film and acts as a lens through which viewers are invited to reconsider their own relationships to power and resistance. The question becomes not just what is worth fighting for, but what are we willing to sacrifice for the sake of our freedom? The tension between the personal and the collective is deepened by Tell's role in the rebellion. Early on, Tell is portrayed as a reluctant hero. He does not seek the mantle of leadership, nor does he wish to place himself at the forefront of a revolution. His primary concern is his family, his personal survival, and the preservation of his way of life. Yet, as events unfold, Tell cannot escape the larger forces at play. His evolution from a man who merely defends his own to a leader who must stand for the collective good is a poignant commentary on the nature of resistance and leadership. This is symbolized by Tell's increasing involvement in the rebellion's planning and organization, as well as his internal battle to reconcile his love for his family with the responsibility he feels to the broader cause. This progression is mirrored in his own transformation, a symbol of the shift from individual self-preservation to collective liberation. In addition to freedom, William Tell explores the theme of sacrifice. As the film's characters confront the realities of their rebellion, the personal toll of their choices becomes painfully clear. Tell's willingness to risk his son's life to strike a blow against tyranny is only the beginning. Throughout the narrative, the characters grapple with the devastating consequences of their defiance. Tell's own internal struggle becomes a metaphor for the broader sacrifices that those in revolt must make. No victory is without its price, whether it's the loss of loved ones, the destruction of the home, or the emotional toll that comes with being forced into a life of constant resistance. This theme of sacrifice is crystallized during the rebellion's climax, where the fighters face not only the enemy forces but the realization that their victories may be hollow if they lose what they hold dear. The The tension between what is won and what is lost is threaded through every aspect of the narrative, and it echoes a universal truth, that freedom comes at a cost, often one too heavy for individuals and societies to bear. The symbolic elements in William Tell serve as much more than a mere visual language. They are the backbone of the film's commentary on power, rebellion, and identity. One of the most powerful symbols is the crossbow, the weapon Tell uses to challenge his enemies. The crossbow, a tool of both precision and violence, becomes a stand-in for the ideas of justice and retribution. In many ways, it represents the individual's weapon against a larger system of injustice. However, it also holds a darker side. The crossbow's use for execution, its ability to take lives, and its role in delivering punishment reflect the film's ambivalence toward violence as a means of resistance. Tell's weapon, while used to protect his family, is also a symbol of the moral complexities that arise when one is forced to defend against a much larger power. There's a tension between using the crossbow as a tool of survival and using it as a tool of liberation. This duality reflects the film's broader exploration of violence as both a necessary and destructive force in the fight for freedom. The use of nature throughout the film is another powerful symbolic tool. The natural world is inextricably linked to the Swiss people's struggle for autonomy, as the mountains, forests, and rivers are not just the setting, but the embodiment of their resilience and connection to the land. The beauty of the environment contrasts sharply with the brutal occupation of the Habsburgs, serving as a constant reminder of what is at stake. The relationship between the Swiss people and their land is portrayed as deeply spiritual, an inherent connection to their identity. The land represents not just physical survival but cultural survival. The mountains are more than obstacles to overcome. They are part of the character's soul, their spirit of resistance, and their deep-rooted understanding of what it means to be free. There's also a deeply spiritual undercurrent to William Tell that speaks to the idea of divine justice. This is particularly evident in Tell's journey. Throughout the film, Tell finds himself drawn into acts of resistance by forces larger than his own personal desires, suggesting that his role in the rebellion might be preordained, as if fate itself has chosen him to lead. This sense of destiny is reinforced by the mystical presence of the land and the idea that the will of the people is aligned with a higher purpose. The apple, which represents subjugation, and the crossbow, which represents retribution, both become symbols of a higher law. Tell himself, in many ways, is positioned as an agent of this divine justice, a man chosen to right the wrongs that have been visited upon his people. His defiance is not merely a rebellion against earthly rulers. It is a stand against an unjust world, invoking the larger metaphysical struggle between oppression and freedom. In terms of social commentary, William Tell resonates deeply with contemporary issues. The film explores the tension between individual rights and state control, a question that has gained renewed urgency in today's world, where questions of personal freedom, state surveillance, and authoritarian power are at the forefront of global discussions. Tell's refusal to bow to the oppressive forces of the Habsburgs mirrors the struggles of individuals and groups fighting against modern-day authoritarian regimes, whether political, economic, or social. The film taps into the modern zeitgeist of resistance, inviting audiences to reflect on the ways in which power structures shape our lives and how individuals can rise against them. In doing so, William Tell transcends its historical context, becoming a timeless meditation on the human spirit's unyielding desire for autonomy. In sum, William Tell is much more than a historical epic. It is a powerful exploration of the human condition, framed through the lens of resistance, sacrifice, and freedom. The symbolic elements, such as the apple, the crossbow, and the mountains, are intricately woven into the narrative to amplify the film's core themes, while also reflecting deeper philosophical and social ideas about power, justice, and identity. The film's exploration of rebellion is both timely and timeless, offering profound commentary on the cost of freedom and the nature of resistance, while positioning itself as an essential voice in the ongoing conversation about societal and cultural struggles. It reminds us that the quest for freedom, no matter the form it takes, is both a personal and collective endeavor, one that asks each of us to confront the difficult, sometimes painful, sacrifices required to ensure that freedom is preserved for future generations. In William Tell, 2024. Every frame of the film is meticulously crafted to evoke not just the physical world of 13th century Switzerland, but the emotional landscape of the characters themselves. The film's visual style, cinematography, and editing work in harmony to immerse the audience in its world, while the sound design and music amplify its emotional resonance. The film isn't just about telling a story. It's about experiencing the story in a way that feels visceral and immediate. From breathtaking landscapes to heart-stopping action sequences, the technical choices of the filmmakers elevate William Tell into a cinematic experience that is both immersive and transformative. Right from the opening shot, the film's visual style makes an indelible impression. The camera lingers on wide, sweeping shots of the Swiss Alps, emphasizing the harsh beauty of the landscape. The rugged mountains, the flowing rivers, and the dense forests are not just scenery. They are characters in their own right, breathing life into the narrative. In the hands of the cinematographer, the landscape becomes a canvas on which the story is painted. The landscape's grandiose scale mirrors the epic struggle that the characters face, while its unyielding presence echoes the moral battle at the heart of the story. The camera often lingers on vast stretches of land, conveying not just the beauty but also the isolation of the environment, hinting at the tension that comes with being a land caught between opposing forces. The choice to shoot on location in the Swiss Alps was more than an aesthetic one. It was a deliberate decision to create a visual connection between the characters' struggles and the land they inhabit. The choice to shoot in natural light plays a crucial role in setting the film's tone. Much of the film's emotional weight comes from the raw, unfiltered beauty of the environment, and the cinematographer uses the natural light of the Alps to create a mood that is both intimate and expansive. Early in the film, we see the first rays of dawn illuminate the landscape, casting long shadows over the land and giving the scenery an ethereal quality. These fleeting moments of beauty contrast sharply with the darker themes of oppression and rebellion that the film grapples with. The shifting light also mirrors the characters' internal journeys. For example, during moments of intense personal conflict, the lighting becomes harsher, casting deep shadows over the characters' faces, emphasizing the emotional turmoil they're experiencing. This technique heightens the sense of isolation and uncertainty that the characters feel as they battle not just external enemies, but their own inner demons. The use of natural light also allows the film to feel grounded, pulling the viewer deeper into its world, making it feel as though the events unfolding on screen are happening in real time. One of the film's most striking visual techniques is the way the camera tracks its characters. The camera often moves with them, staying close, almost as if it's a participant in the action itself. This dynamic camera movement enhances the film's sense of immediacy and engagement. In the early scenes, as we are introduced to William Tell, Claes, the camera follows him through dense forests and across rugged terrain, almost as if the viewer is walking in his footsteps. The effect is not just about providing a sense of realism. It's about pulling the audience into the action, making them feel as though they, too, are part of the story. There's a palpable tension in these scenes, as the camera movements mirror Tell's own sense of urgency and fear. The characters often seem to be surrounded by an overwhelming force, and the camera's fluid movement serves to heighten the feeling of instability and uncertainty. This sense of movement isn't just limited to the camera. It's deeply embedded in the editing as well. The film's pacing is deliberately slow during moments of introspection, allowing the weight of the story to settle in before accelerating during moments of action. The editing style shifts in response to the characters' emotional states. When Tell is at his most vulnerable, the shots tend to be longer and more meditative, giving the audience time to connect with his internal struggle. Conversely, when the tension ramps up, whether during the apple scene or the climactic battle sequences, the editing becomes quicker and more frantic, cutting between characters and action to create a sense of chaos and urgency. This balance between stillness and movement is integral to the film's storytelling, underscoring the emotional highs and lows that the characters experience. But William Tell is not just a story told through visuals. It's a story felt through sound. The sound design of the film is a masterclass in how audio can elevate a film's emotional impact. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, every gust of wind feels intentional. The natural world comes alive through the soundscape, immersing the viewer in the harshness and beauty of the environment. The The sound of the wind, the creaking of trees, the distant rush of rivers. Each of these elements is a part of the world that the characters inhabit, and their presence is felt deeply throughout the film. The environment is never just a backdrop. It is part of the emotional fabric of the story, constantly reminding the characters of the fragility of life, the constant battle for survival, and the beauty that they fight to preserve. The use of sound in William Tell also plays a critical role in shaping the tension in the film's action sequences. During moments of high-stakes confrontation, the sound design heightens the sense of danger, using sharp, staccato noises to punctuate the action. The sound of arrows whizzing through the air, the clash of swords, the thud of bodies hitting the ground. Each of these sounds is designed to make the audience feel the immediacy and brutality of the action. At the same time, the absence of sound plays an equally important role in building tension. During quieter, more introspective moments, the film often uses long stretches of silence, allowing the weight of the characters' emotions to come to the forefront. These pauses in the action serve as a powerful counterpoint to the film's more intense scenes, making the moments of violence and tension feel all the more impactful when they do occur. The score of William Tell is a vital element of its emotional landscape. The composer's use of a sweeping orchestral score mixed with subtle, atmospheric elements allows the music to reflect both the grandeur of the story and the intimate, personal stakes that the characters face. The score swells during moments of triumph, making the audience feel the weight of the characters' victories, while at the same time, it recedes into the background during moments of introspection, allowing the actors' performances to take center stage. One of the most striking aspects of the film's music is its use of traditional Swiss instruments, which gives the score a unique texture and connects it directly to the film's setting. These elements of folk music serve as a reminder of the land, the culture, and the identity that the characters are fighting to protect. A key moment that exemplifies the film's masterful use of sound and music is the iconic apple scene. As Tell prepares to shoot the apple off his son's head, the tension is palpable, and the sound design heightens this sense of impending danger. The music fades into a delicate, almost haunting lull, allowing the stillness of the moment to dominate. Every breath, every sound is amplified, making the audience feel as though they are right there with the characters. As Tell releases the arrow, the sound of the shot is deafening, followed by the sudden silence that follows as the apple splits. This moment of near-absolute quiet is one of the film's most powerful sequences, and it is entirely driven by the careful balance of sound and music. Visually, William Tell uses several stylistic techniques to deepen the emotional connection between the audience and the characters. One of the most notable is the film's use of close-ups. During moments of high emotional intensity, the camera frequently zooms in on the characters' faces, capturing their raw, unfiltered expressions. These close-ups serve to break down the barrier between character and audience, allowing us to feel what the characters are feeling. The close-ups are particularly effective in portraying William Tell's internal struggle, his quiet moments of reflection, his fear for his son, and his growing realization of the weight of his actions. By focusing so intently on the characters' faces, the film forces the audience to confront the complexity of their emotions, making them an active participant in the story rather than just a passive observer. Another key stylistic choice is the film's use of foreground and background in its compositions. Many of the scenes are framed in such a way that the characters are often placed against vast, empty landscapes, emphasizing their isolation and the overwhelming forces they face. These compositions speak to the themes of freedom and resistance, highlighting the characters' struggle against oppressive powers. The emptiness of the background serves as a visual metaphor for the desolate world in which these characters exist, a world in which they must fight to carve out their own path. The battle sequences are another area where the film's visual style stands out. Unlike many modern action films that rely heavily on quick cuts and frenetic editing, William Tell uses wide, open shots to depict the scale of the conflict. The camera lingers on the chaos of battle, allowing the audience to take in the full scope of the violence and the cost of war. The choreography of the battles is carefully designed to make the viewer feel the weight of each action, each strike, and each loss. The slower pacing during these sequences heightens the emotional impact, forcing the audience to confront the brutal reality of war, even as it celebrates the character's resilience. Ultimately, William Tell is a film that demonstrates how technical elements like cinematography, sound design, music, and editing can come together to create an emotionally immersive experience. Every visual choice is purposeful, every sound has meaning, and every stylistic decision serves to further the story's emotional core. The seamless integration of these elements gives the film a unique, unmistakable energy, one that draws the viewer in and keeps them tethered to the character's struggles. It is a testament to the director's vision and the entire filmmaking team's commitment to crafting a story that is as emotionally resonant as it is visually stunning. The power of William Tell, 2024, lies not only in its sweeping visuals and compelling narrative, but also in the undeniable chemistry between its cast. From the quiet strength of William Tell to the fierce resolve of his allies and adversaries, the performances breathe life into a story that has been told countless times. What makes this version of William Tell stand out is the way the cast effortlessly connects with each other, creating dynamic relationships that resonate with the audience on a deeply emotional level. Their interactions serve as the emotional backbone of the film, lending depth to the characters and allowing viewers to fully immerse themselves in the stakes of the story. At the center of this web of connections is Claes Bang's portrayal of William Tell. As the character whose name has become synonymous with resistance, defiance, and freedom, Tell is a figure that demands a performance brimming with complexity. Bang, known for his nuanced and grounded approach to acting, brings an unexpected depth to the character. He doesn't simply play a legendary hero. Instead, he makes Tell an everyman, a father, a reluctant rebel, and a man who is shaped as much by his own vulnerabilities as by his courageous actions. There is a quiet weight in Bang's performance that underscores Tell's internal struggle. It's a portrayal that never seeks to overstate the character's heroism, but rather allows it to emerge through his actions and the difficult decisions he must make. Bang's ability to convey both strength and vulnerability adds a layer of authenticity to Tell, making him more relatable and human in a way that resonates with contemporary audiences. The chemistry between Bang and his co-stars is one of the defining elements of the film's success. The relationship between William Tell and his son, Walter, played by young actor Felix Moati, is particularly poignant. Their bond is at once tender and fraught with the tension of the situation they find themselves in. Moati's portrayal of Walter is emotionally charged, and his interactions with Bang give the film a heart that keeps the stakes personal. The subtle moments, such as when Tell hesitates before making a decision that will affect his son's future, are enhanced by the father-son dynamic, which feels utterly authentic. The small, almost imperceptible exchanges between them, like the shared look of understanding or a simple gesture of reassurance, pack an emotional punch. These fleeting moments elevate the narrative, grounding the larger themes of rebellion and sacrifice in the deeply personal stakes of their relationship. Then there's the tension-filled dynamic between William Tell and the oppressive forces of the Habsburgs, especially in his interactions with the film's antagonist, Governor Gessler, played by a charismatic and chilling actor whose performance cuts through the screen. The Gessler-Tell dynamic is one of cat and mouse, where Gessler's cruelty and arrogance are met with Tell's quiet resistance and moral clarity. What's remarkable is how the chemistry between Bang and this actor, whose performance is steely and commanding, creates a sense of palpable friction. Their power struggle feels real, their scenes together thick with tension, yet there's an underlying respect between the two. It's not the traditional good versus evil dynamic. Instead, the complexity of both characters gives their scenes depth, and the audience feels the weight of their ideological conflict. Beyond the core performances, the ensemble cast plays an integral role in making the world of William Tell feel populated by fully realized characters. Supporting characters, such as the rebel leaders who fight alongside Tell and the villagers whose fates are entwined with the rebellion, each bring a unique energy to the screen. The camaraderie between these characters lends the film an emotional resonance, and it's evident that the cast shared a strong bond off-screen. There's a sense of unity in the way they support each other's performances, whether it's in moments of high tension or quieter, more intimate exchanges. This shared sense of collaboration contributes significantly to the film's ability to capture the collective experience of the rebellion. Behind the scenes, the cast's camaraderie extended beyond the frame, with stories emerging of actors bonding during the grueling physical preparations and training required for the film's intense action sequences. The rigorous nature of the fight choreography, archery training, and battle preparation gave the cast a sense of solidarity as they worked together to bring the story's action to life. Claes, for example, underwent extensive training to ensure that his portrayal of William Tell's archery skills was authentic, and this physical preparation contributed to his deepening connection to the character. There are stories of the cast members spending long hours practicing with crossbows, learning to shoot under pressure, and bonding over the shared experience of learning these skills. This physical preparation translated into the performances, lending a raw intensity to the action sequences and making them feel earned, rather than contrived. The director played a crucial role in fostering an environment where the cast could form these deep connections, ensuring that the focus was always on the characters' relationships and the emotional truth of each scene. The way the director guided the cast in their performances, emphasizing the internal struggles of each character, the stakes of their personal journeys, and the emotional toll of their actions, was essential to the film's success. The chemistry between the actors wasn't something that happened by accident. It was a product of thoughtful direction and a shared understanding of the story's themes. William Tell's cast chemistry was not only evident in their performances, but it also deeply impacted the film's reception. When the film premiered, it didn't take long for the audience to recognize the strength of the relationships on screen. Early reactions were overwhelmingly positive, with critics praising the cast's ability to bring emotional depth to a story that could easily have fallen into the realm of mere action spectacle. What struck audiences most was the film's humanity, the way it focused on the personal stakes of the characters within a grand historical narrative. While the action sequences were intense and gripping, it was the moments of vulnerability, the quiet exchanges between father and son, or the moral dilemmas faced by the rebel leaders that resonated most deeply with viewers. Audience reactions were passionate and varied, reflecting the wide-reaching appeal of the film. Many viewers, particularly those with an interest in historical dramas, were impressed by the film's ability to breathe new life into a centuries-old legend. William Tell didn't just recount a familiar story. It explored the emotional and moral dimensions of resistance in ways that felt fresh and relevant to contemporary issues. Fans of action films and epic tales of rebellion were equally captivated, drawn in by the film's intense action sequences, character-driven plot, and visually striking cinematography. It was a movie that balanced intellectual engagement with visceral excitement, a rare feat. What stood out most in the audience's response was the deep emotional connection viewers formed with the characters. Many fans left the theater not just thinking about the sweeping landscapes or the stunning action scenes, but about the characters and the moral quandaries they faced. The portrayal of William Tell, particularly his internal conflict as a father and reluctant hero, struck a chord with many. His journey of self-discovery and sacrifice resonated with people from all walks of life, especially those who have struggled against oppression or fought for their rights. There was a sense that William Tell was more than a historical film. It was a universal story about the human desire for freedom, the consequences of defiance, and the complexity of the choices that lead to revolution. The film's success at the box office and its subsequent critical acclaim helped solidify its place in cinematic history. Long after the initial release, the film continued to be discussed in film circles and became the subject of intense academic study. Critics revisited the film with fresh perspectives, discussing its emotional depth, the richness of the performances, and the way it skillfully navigated the intersection of personal and political stakes. Some saw it as a meditation on the timeless nature of rebellion and the cost of defiance. Others appreciated the way it portrayed the complexities of resistance, how it isn't just about fighting an external enemy, but confronting the moral complexities of violence, sacrifice, and leadership. In the years following its release, William Tell developed a devoted fanbase. Fans created forums and social media pages dedicated to the film, discussing its themes, characters, and the finer points of its cinematography. The relationship between William Tell and his son became iconic, with fan art and fanfiction springing up around the characters. Quotes from the film, particularly lines delivered by Tell, entered the cultural lexicon, symbolizing the resilience and defiance that the movie so powerfully captured. The film's success was not just in how it captivated audiences at the time of its release, but in how it continued to resonate long after. Ultimately, William Tell was a film that excelled not only because of its stunning visuals, action sequences, and gripping storyline, but because of the powerful connections forged between its actors. The chemistry between Claes and his co-stars made the film's emotional weight feel authentic, while the cast's camaraderie behind the scenes contributed to the sincerity of their performances. The reactions from audiences reflected this deep emotional engagement, with fans praising the film's character-driven narrative, the complexity of its themes, and the strength of the performances. William Tell's lasting impact is a testament to the filmmaker's ability to craft a story that transcends time and space, resonating with viewers on a deeply personal level while also leaving an indelible mark on cinematic history. William Tell, 2024, stands as more than just a remarkable cinematic achievement. It has solidified itself as a cultural touchstone, shaping the landscape of historical dramas, filmmaking, and pop culture in profound ways. By seamlessly blending timeless storytelling with bold technical choices, the film has transcended the expectations of its genre and become a touchstone in the world of cinema. As we reflect on its lasting impact, it becomes clear that William Tell is not just a film that was of its time, but one that will continue to resonate across generations, inspiring future filmmakers, storytellers, and audiences. At the heart of William Tell's legacy is its contribution to the historical drama genre. Historically, films based on famous legends or events have often found themselves confined by the need to adhere strictly to the past. William Tell, however, broke free from these constraints, injecting a fresh sense of relevance and contemporary resonance into a well-worn narrative. The film's ability to ground a centuries-old legend in relatable, deeply human conflicts, rather than merely retelling a historical tale, has reshaped the way filmmakers approach stories of resistance and revolution. Before William Tell, historical epics and period dramas often risked becoming too grandiose or disconnected from the emotions of their characters. But the film's meticulous attention to character depth, emotional nuance, and its refusal to simply present a hero's journey in black and white reshaped the genre's conventions. It bridged the gap between the grand narrative of history and the intimate internal journeys of its characters. William Tell, as portrayed by Claes, is a hero for the modern age. Not a perfect, mythic figure, but a man struggling with deeply personal moral dilemmas. The balance between his personal journey and the political upheaval surrounding him helped give the film a sense of immediacy and urgency. The film's message about the consequences of defiance, the cost of resistance, and the fragility of heroism became a reflection of contemporary societal struggles. By taking a well-known legend and recontextualizing it for a modern audience, William Tell demonstrated that historical epics didn't need to be trapped in nostalgia or romanticism. Instead, they could be dynamic, engaging, and emotionally charged works that spoke to today's political and social realities. Filmmakers around the world looked at William Tell and saw the potential to take other historical events, legends, and figures and reframe them with new emotional weight. The influence is seen in the way subsequent films, whether historical or fantastical, have chosen to imbue their protagonists with complex, often contradictory motivations, showing that even larger-than-life figures can struggle with human flaws. On a technical level, William Tell also set a new benchmark in cinematic filmmaking, influencing the way filmmakers approach both visuals and narrative structure. The film's breathtaking cinematography, from sweeping shots of the Swiss Alps to intimate close-ups of the characters, pushed the boundaries of visual storytelling. Directors and cinematographers saw William Tell as a masterclass in blending action with emotional resonance. The way the camera becomes an active participant in the narrative, moving fluidly with the characters, created a sense of immersion that was unprecedented for the genre. This use of visual intimacy, where the characters are not just viewed but felt, resonated with filmmakers eager to explore how cinema can be more than just spectacle. The editing style of William Tell also left its mark. Where many modern films favor fast-paced cutting and chaotic action sequences, William Tell embraced a slower, more deliberate rhythm that allowed the action to breathe. The decision to allow moments of introspection to unfold naturally, coupled with the controlled intensity of its climactic sequences, has influenced a generation of directors who seek to balance action and quiet moments of personal struggle. This rhythmic pacing, built on the emotional weight of each scene, has helped to redefine how historical action sequences can be staged. It's no longer enough for a film to simply showcase violence or epic confrontations. The emotional stakes must always remain at the forefront. In terms of sound and music, the film's use of natural sounds, atmospheric tension, and a score that fuses traditional Swiss instruments with modern orchestral elements has become a key reference for filmmakers seeking to explore cultural authenticity within a broader cinematic context. The score's haunting melodies and subtle flourishes elevated the emotional depth of William Tell in ways that few other films in the genre could achieve. Music, in this case, became another character, shaping the tone of each scene and anchoring the audience in the emotional currents of the story. The music also highlighted the film's theme of connection to the land, adding a layer of cultural and geographical specificity that made the story even more poignant. Sound design, too, became more than a background detail. It was a vital narrative tool, heightening the tension of key moments and enhancing the visceral impact of the film's emotional beats. The technical innovations of William Tell weren't just limited to its visual style and sound design. Its approach to practical effects and fight choreography was another area where the film left an indelible mark. In a time when CGI and digital effects often dominate action sequences, William Tell returned to a more grounded, hands-on approach, utilizing real locations, practical stunts, and intricate fight sequences that highlighted the physicality of the characters and their struggles. The iconic apple scene, shot with expert precision and minimal digital intervention, remains one of the most talked-about sequences in recent cinematic history. Its rawness, its intimacy, and the simplicity of its execution allowed it to become a cultural milestone in its own right, one that showcased how less can sometimes be more. But William Tell's influence doesn't stop at the boundaries of filmmaking and cinematic technique. Its cultural impact has been equally profound, permeating popular culture in ways that many anticipated, but perhaps not to the extent that it ultimately achieved. The film's portrayal of rebellion, heroism, and resistance against oppressive forces resonated with global audiences, particularly in an era marked by political unrest and widespread calls for justice. The film became more than just a period drama. It became a symbol of defiance in a world where the fight for freedom and equality continues to be a central theme in society. Social media became a platform for fans to discuss William Tell's significance, drawing comparisons between the struggles of the characters and modern-day movements for justice. The father-son relationship, in particular, struck a chord with viewers worldwide. It became emblematic of the universal struggles between generations, between the past and the future, between the sacrifices of the old guard and the hopes of the next generation. In many ways, the film became a rallying cry for those who felt silenced or oppressed. The idea that one man could challenge an unjust system, and that personal sacrifice could lead to widespread change, echoed in the hearts of many viewers. William Tell also sparked a wave of discourse surrounding its thematic elements. Scholars, critics, and pop culture enthusiasts alike debated its portrayal of power dynamics, ethical quandaries, and the notion of heroism in a world that often seems devoid of clear moral lines. The complexity of Tell's character, his internal struggle between violence and peace, his duty to his son and his country, became a point of reference in discussions about the nature of resistance. It's rare for a film to spark such deep, ongoing cultural conversations, and William Tell did just that. The long-term engagement from fans helped propel the film's enduring popularity. The film's themes, performances, and historical resonance have made it a subject of academic study in film schools and universities. Its influence has expanded beyond cinema, inspiring a wealth of fan fiction, fan art, and online communities that continue to celebrate its characters and ideas. The success of the film also prompted renewed interest in the William Tell legend itself, prompting a surge of literary adaptations and reinterpretations that seek to capture the spirit of the film while honoring the timeless nature of the original tale. The film's cultural impact extends beyond the silver screen as well. William Tell has sparked discussions about resistance, power dynamics, and the ethical complexities of fighting for freedom. Audiences have drawn parallels between Tell's struggle and modern-day movements for justice, using the film as a lens through which to examine contemporary issues. It has become a touchstone for anyone grappling with questions of personal sacrifice, collective action, and the price of standing up against tyranny. In terms of critical reception, William Tell has been lauded for its emotional depth, its visual mastery, and its thought-provoking exploration of freedom and resistance. The film has earned numerous accolades, from awards for Best Director and Best Actor to nominations for its groundbreaking cinematography and score. Its success at the box office has cemented its place as one of the most influential films of its generation, and its cultural relevance continues to grow. The film has become the subject of countless essays, articles, and discussions, and its characters, themes, and performances will undoubtedly continue to inspire filmmakers and audiences for years to come. Perhaps most importantly, William Tell has created a lasting legacy not only as a film but as a cultural phenomenon. It has become a symbol of resistance and the enduring power of storytelling. Its influence can be felt in every corner of pop culture, from the way it has inspired fan art and fan fiction to the discussions it has sparked around the world. The film's themes, performances, and technical achievements have left an indelible mark on both the film industry and global conversations about freedom and justice. As we reach the end of our journey through William Tell, it's clear that this is a film that will continue to captivate audiences for generations to come. Its legacy is built on more than just its stunning visuals or its gripping action sequences. It is built on the powerful emotional core at the heart of the story, the universal themes it explores, and the unforgettable performances that bring it to life. William Tell is more than a film. It is a reflection of the human spirit, a story about the sacrifices we make for those we love, and the price we pay for standing up for what is right. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together.